Good morning, buenos dias. Today I would like to talk about native perennials. We have here several native perennials. I want to start with a true native, which is the purple coneflower, Echinacea purpurea. Shout out to Coppola Nurseries in Edison for having natives, and to Blue Label for growing natives and even labeling natives so that you know it's a true native. What is a true native? A true native is a plant that has not been genetically modified in any way. So this purple coneflower is native to New Jersey or to this area and other parts of the United States, but this geographical area. And this naturally grew here, and this occurs naturally in nature. And I'm going to distinguish that from a native cultivar or a nativar, in which you can still plant these. They sometimes do not support the same bug species, wildlife, bugs and birds, but sometimes they do. So in this case, I guess this is coneflower or echinacea is always a native, but this is a cultivar that has different characteristics, and it was either genetically modified or chosen. It might have, been bred to have other characteristics. In this case, if you read the label, and you should always read the label, this flower likes to bloom from June to first frost. So it has a very long blooming time, and it blooms 2 weeks earlier than other coneflowers. Its habit is a lot more compact than the native purple coneflower. So when as responsible gardeners, one of the things we want to do is plant natives to our geographic area to support wildlife and support the ecosystem. And in the beginning, when I began gardening, I did not know this. And so my yard is full of non-natives because I did not, I wasn't aware. But now that I'm aware, I'm trying to incorporate more natives into my yard, and sometimes even switch some out. In this case, I am planning a front yard Hellstrip garden, and I'm planning to do all natives there. However, I also have to take into account that I have neighbors, and I have to choose types of flowers that are not going to be aggressive. So sometimes natives are very aggressive because they love where they are, especially if you put them in the right plant and the right place. You have this concept of right plant, right place. You should test the soil always, but that's a conversation for another time. But if it's the type of soil, the amount of sun and water that it receives, and you know that again by reading the label, or just doing some research online. When you do research online, do not rely on AI alone. You want to also look at the sources AI is using, if you're using AI, and make sure that they're sources that are either from universities or specialists in the areas, special groups that specialize in those types of plants, because they have better information. Some information you find in those quick videos, AI videos, is not correct. So you want to make sure that you double check your sources, just like with anything else on the internet if you're searching the internet. All right, so having said all that, I want to get back to this swamp sunflower, which is a native to this area. However, it grows really tall, and if you read the label again, it grows 5 to 7 feet and 3 to 4 feet wide. So I was going to put it in the front yard, but I think it's too large for that area for my Hellstrip. And even though I probably could put a plant that large, it's really not a good place for it because it requires lots of water, and that area is very dry. These become very tall, and they flop over when they don't get enough water. So this has to be staked. That's the other thing. It's going to need to be staked, and I don't think that's a good place for us. It is a place for it. It can be aggressive, and so I don't want to be a bad neighbor and have them growing, the swamp sunflowers in their gardens if they don't want it there. So I'm going to put this in a pot in my backyard. I'm going to plant it in a container. in a very large container, because this needs a very large container where I can control the water. I'm going to put a dish underneath it, and I'm going to see how it grows. And if I still like it, maybe I'll transfer it to some place in my backyard next year, because it'll come back. I can overwinter it or take care of it during the winter, so that it can come back the next year. And if I don't like it, I can give it away. So I just, want to make those points about planting natives, the difference between native, true native species and native cultivars, and replacing some of our regular flowers with natives. And one of the things I want to talk about with flowering plants is that when you're planting a garden bed, you want to make sure that you're getting plants that flower at different times. One of the things you can do as a gardener to save yourself time and effort is planting perennials instead of annual flowers that are not going to come back the next year in your zone. And so you might want to think about planting perennials to save yourself time. Annuals take a lot of time, energy, and money. These just come right back. So these are herbaceous perennials that die back to the ground every year and then come back up the following season. To do that correctly, in your planning a bed, you want perennials that bloom at different times. So you want, early bloomers in early spring, late spring, early summer, late summer, fall, and even having plants with winter interest, so that your garden bed, it has something going on every year and every season, and it's looking very interesting every season. If you go to the garden center and you just choose a bunch of flowers that are blooming at the same time, that's all you're going to get, is blooms at that time, and then afterwards it's not going to look that great. It's just going to be either just leaves or it's just going to all die back. Okay, so those are my notes today. I just want to get on here and promote some promote planting natives. And I just want to show exactly where I'm going to put these. And let me take a few of these. I'm actually planting both the true natives and the native cultivars, because I do want a longer blooming time, and I also want different colors. This is not what the native sunflower is purple. It's like this pinky purple. So I want a white color too. So I'm planting these in a flower bed. Let me bring them over there now. And these are in my front yard, in my Hellstrip that I'm designing. These are some other native plants that I have here. And, I bought some also from the Rutgers plant sale. And, you grab what you can, but this is little blue stem. One of the things when you're buying these plants is to understand and do the research, because these will, you see a little tiny plant, but this will get about 2 feet tall and 2 feet wide. And so when you plant them, you want to think about spacing and how much space you need for each. So even though they're going to look kind of funny the first year, they're not going to look like really full. You have to take that into account, because when you're planting perennials, you're planting for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years. All right, so let me grab these two, and I'll show you where I want to place them. I'm doing this all one-handed. My alliums, the flowering stopped, but I keep the heads on because it's pretty. It gives it some sort of structure. That's another thing. Sometimes you're planting perennial flowers that the structure looks really nice in winter. You want to leave it there, not only for the bugs and birds, but because it looks pretty. This is the area I'm planting them in, and I'm starting here. So starting with Liatris. This is another native cultivar. This gets pretty tall. I want this to be the center. So I'm also going to incorporate some evergreens in here, so that there's, during the winter it's not all plain. But I'm looking at the size. This is 20 to 24. again, tall, the native cultivar. And I mean the native, and then the native cultivar is 22-24, the same size. So I'm just going to space them out. They have enough space for them to grow. Okay, thing like this. And I want to incorporate grasses too, so I plan to put some green evergreens in that corner here. I want to look at it all sides. When you're planting a flower bed that has you can see it from all sides, you want to put the taller plants in the top. Right, I want this somewhere in the middle here. I'm going to put the grasses here. And I want to bring these out here. I also don't want them in a straight line. You want to make sure that they're sort of staggered. I have another Echinacea magnus here. This is another perennial cultivar magnus. This grows really tall. Another thing about natives is that the true natives, they support the most the most wildlife. So the bugs, the moths, the birdies, but you also have cultivars that support the same amount. Some old cultivars support less. So let me actually go back here. I want to show you something. This is a native cultivar, but this is a dogwood. And it's either, okay, so we're going to talk about these plants here. This is my favorite. I love these. I talk about them all the time. This is the Little Devil Nine Bark. So nine bark is native to New Jersey. However, this is a cultivar. This was grown to be shorter because the native ones grow 9 feet tall. Okay, the natives are also all green, more like this color here, this color that comes out. So the bug species that nine bark usually do not prefer this darker foliage. It's harder for them to eat the leaves. It's good for me because I'm in the front here and it looks nice all the time. And it's not going to be torn down by caterpillars and stuff. But for the plants itself is not great for the ecosystem. So I chose this plant here, again, right plant, right place, because it's in the front yard. So I don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to maintain these plants. And they have this beautiful color, they flower, they stay short, so they're not going to take over the front yard. However, if I was going to put it in the backyard and I had more space for it, then maybe I would use a native plant, the native nine bark that can grow, and if I have the space for it. Sometimes you just don't have the space for it. Now, having said that, had I known all this information when I became a gardener in 2020, when I started seriously gardening in 2020, I probably would have chosen a lot more natives. This yard where I have these ligustrum, I would have planted something else there. Maybe I would have planted, the real nine bark that gets really tall, because these are deciduous trees. Or I might have planted other things I like sweet shrub, and I like so many other natives that I love, but now I really don't have space because I already planted up my entire yard. One of the things I am going to do, but sometimes sometimes you just like a plant, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you like a plant because of the color, like the sunshine ligustrum. It doesn't self-seed. This is a ligustrum, usually is an invasive, a non-native, but this one is a cultivar that doesn't self-seed, but I like the color, right? So I want this color here. So sometimes you want that, but sometimes it doesn't really matter. And in that case, we have a situation like this. I like this plant. This is a pretty plant. This is a Butterscotchionimus. That's a Japanese. That's a plant that is native to Japan. And it's doing fine there, but it's doing nothing for nature. So I am going to replace that plant with a native. I'm going to replace it with a native holly, Elex glabra, whatever, which is an inkberry holly. And now they're selling it more. It's become more available, or it probably was always available, just it wasn't you know, it's like the plant industry. They might advertise certain types of plants, or when you go to the garden center, you're just attracted to the pretty leaves or the pretty flowers. But the birdies and the bees, they need a little bit more from you. The world needs a little bit more from you than just pretty flowers and pretty leaves. And believe it or not, even with natives, such as this tick seed, look how pretty. Pretty flowers, pretty leaves, and it's a native. Pretty leaves, and it's a native. This fell through. This is a heuchera, okay? What other natives can we find here? Oh, my dogwood. Beautiful tree. It's a native. So you can use natives throughout your yard that are beautiful too. My emerald green arborvitae, thujas. Thujas are native to my area. These are native trees. Okay. Amsonia. It's a native. Look how beautiful. This is a native plant. Yarrow. It's a native. Isn't that gorgeous? Creeping juniper. It's a native. All right. So you can use natives. You could probably use, I would, if I were going to redesign this yard, I probably would do maybe 70%, 80% natives, and then 30% non-natives. And I think I could do it. So long as you research the plant and you know right plant, right place, you know, size, height, spacing, purpose. You do your research. You can plant a beautiful native yard, a beautiful native yard. So these are common milkweed, not a beautiful flower. This is not a beautiful flower, but this supports the larvae of the monarch butterflies. So I'm keeping it here, right? Because we want the monarch butterflies. We want them. And it's not a beautiful plant. So I sort of just left it back there in the backyard in the, you know, lupin. Lupin are native. Aren't they gorgeous? Lupin, right now they're not in flower, but they're gorgeous. Natives. Sometimes you have more native cultivars, but natives. Yeah, so even, let's talk about this one, which flopped over because there's another thing. There's some, this one I probably should have used the native cultivar for this one. But this is actually, this is the cultivar, but this one flops. They created a new hydrangea. So these types of hydrangeas, these, for some reason the type is escaping me. But anyway, these type of hydrangeas are native to this area. However, they've developed ones with stronger stems. So maybe you want a cultivar with stronger stems because these hydrangeas tend to flop in the rain. Okay, and I'll remember the type of hydrangea it is in a second. And I'll show you a hydrangea that's truly native to this area and doesn't have those issues. And it's beautiful. It grows really big. This is oak leaf hydrangea, okay? And these are native and they grow. Look at these beautiful leaves. They have they have natural cultivars, stuff that happen naturally in nature, and stuff that just is what usually grows, and they're all beautiful. And these leaves, they turn such a beautiful color in fall, and these get these huge panicle flowers. It's beautiful. So yeah, so again, you can have a native garden arborescence. There we go. That's what it is. It's a hydrangea arborescence. A lot of the arborescent hydrangeas are native to this area. One last example is I have planted Japanese anemones, which are beautiful. But we have native anemones. This is a native anemone. So I'm looking forward to see how this performs as compared to, we had a strong wind storm last night. We could take these out already. The rabbits are not going to get at it. So these again are more natives. I purchased these at that Rutgers plant sale. This is the Carex, Pennsylvania Carex. And this one's still little. These are the native anemones. I'm gonna keep this covered before any little critters want to take a bite off of them. Okay, so yeah, so that's my video for today. I wanted to make this video a lot shorter than what it is, but whatever. Those are my 2 cents, and I probably will be talking more and more about natives while I, start doing these videos, because I really want to promote that. I'm gonna visit some gardens in New Jersey, and where they have, they're specialized in natives, just to see what they look like. Because I might want to fill up these areas. I take out these non-natives out and put some natives in, but I really don't know how big they get, what they look like when they're full grown, if I'm really gonna like them, like if I like the way the foliage looks or the color of the flowers, how they grow. So it's a good idea to visit gardens that specialize in natives, so that you can see them and then make a decision afterwards. You don't have to make all these decisions at the same time. This is already my garden. If you see some of my prior videos, has evolved so much in the last 5 years. Everything has grown in, and things have died, and things have thrived. And it's just going to continue to change. That's the nature of gardening. That's the beauty of gardening, is that it's ever evolving. Not only the garden, but you as a garden are evolving, learning, adjusting, understanding the role that you play as a part of our ecosystem. And so, yeah. Anyway, having said all that, I want to encourage all of you to start looking at natives when you're purchasing perennials, especially perennials, because they come back every year. So easy. Perennials are easy. They make your life so much easier as a gardener. So that's it for right now. Hasta luego.